Las Vegas, Nevada, August 1st, 2017. What began as a routine property recovery call nearly became a double homicide. Officers Nelson and his partner responded to a report of a stolen cell phone that had been electronically traced to a parked pickup truck. Inside, 25-year-old Miguel Salas appeared to be asleep. The officers knocked, asked questions, and requested that he step outside so they could confirm his identity. At first, Miguel argued, calm but stubborn, insisting he had done nothing wrong. Bodycam audio recorded his irritation growing with every request. "Why are you pulling me out? I'm not doing anything." Nelson explained a standard procedure. They needed to see his hands, secure the scene, and finish the check safely. Seconds later, the calm ended. Miguel's right hand darted toward the seat beside him, grabbing a Glock 23. He fired twice before the officers could react. One round struck Nelson's ballistic vest between the protective panels, grazing his chest. Another hit his partner's duty belt. Both survived only by inches. Returning fire, the officers hit Salas in the head, ending the gunfight within 5 seconds. What began as a polite questioning ended with a fatal mistake, one that proved hesitation and arrogance can be lethal when facing trained officers. Douglas County, Colorado, May 13, 2017. Deputy Brad Pro pulled over a driver for speeding near County Line Road. Routine, until the 26-year-old behind the wheel, Dion Rivas Moss, stepped out holding a rifle. The weapon was later found to be unloaded, but in that moment, the deputy had no way of knowing. Dashcam video showed Moss charging forward while shouting incoherently. Pro stumbled backward, drew his handgun, and fired 2 shots, striking Moss once in the arm. "Shots fired. I'm okay," he radioed while keeping the suspect at gunpoint. Within seconds, backup arrived and medical aid was given. Moss survived and faced multiple felony charges, including first-degree assault on a peace officer. Investigators concluded that Pro acted entirely within training guidelines. His split-second reaction saved his own life. The footage later circulated among police academies as a textbook demonstration of how unpredictable even simple traffic stops can become. Glendale, Ohio, March 29, 2016. Officer Josh Hilling spotted a lone man walking along Interstate 75, an area strictly off-limits to pedestrians. The man said his name was Javier Pablo Alman, spoke with a heavy accent, and carried a bulky backpack. When asked for identification, he claimed he had none. Hilling's tone stayed calm as he explained that for safety reasons, he needed to perform a quick pat-down before giving the man a ride. Alman hesitated, muttering something inaudible, and suddenly pulled a large knife from the pack. "Shoot me! Kill me!" he shouted while rushing forward. Hilling fired once, striking him in the abdomen, but the suspect refused to stay down. Even bleeding, he advanced while alternating between "kill me" and "I'm going to kill you." For nearly 2 minutes, the officer kept his distance, issuing over 20 commands for Alman to drop the weapon. Only when additional officers arrived and used a taser was he subdued. Later, checks revealed Javier was wanted for the murder of his roommate in Baltimore. Hilling's composure under pressure prevented another possible death on that highway shoulder. Thornton, Colorado, October 20th, 2020. 37-year-old Ethan Freeman first encountered Officer Matthew Yao while seeking medical help at a local school. Claiming chest pains, he was transported to the hospital. Bodycam video from that day showed a calm exchange, Yao reassuring him, Ethan responding politely. Hours later, that fragile stability was gone. Dispatch received frantic calls from Freeman's landlord reporting screams and crashes inside his apartment. When Officer Yao returned, he found Ethan naked, sweating, and shouting about invisible forces. The officer identified himself, trying to reason. "Ethan, you know me. Let's get you to the hospital." Instead, Freeman hurled objects from a broken window, then climbed through it and charged toward the officer holding a metal object. "Stay back," Yao warned repeatedly, backing away down the stairwell. When Freeman closed to within 10 feet and refused to stop, 2 shots rang out. Freeman fell instantly. Toxicology later revealed a high concentration of amphetamines and signs of acute psychosis. The tragedy was that both men had met earlier that day as patient and protector. Hours later, one lay dead from a confrontation no training could have fully prevented. Phoenix, Arizona, July 8, 2020. Police responding to a 911 call about gunfire outside a motel found 24-year-old Giovanna McCree pacing the parking lot, agitated and yelling into her phone. She denied firing any weapon and insisted someone was framing her. Officers separated her from the crowd and asked routine questions. Did she have a firearm? Was she in an argument? Giovanna said no to everything. A quick record check showed she had an active misdemeanor warrant. While officers searched her bag, they discovered .357 Magnum ammunition, marijuana, and a digital scale, evidence contradicting her claims. As one officer began to place her in handcuffs, Giovanna twisted free, reached behind her waistband, and pulled a handgun. "Don't do it," came the warning, then a gunshot. Police fired back, hitting her in the torso. She was taken to the hospital in critical condition, but survived. Prosecutors later charged her with assault on a peace officer and weapons offenses. In a split second, she turned a minor warrant into a near-fatal shootout. Neillsville, Wisconsin, June 3, 2022. A patrol officer finishing a traffic stop noticed another vehicle pulling alongside his cruiser. The driver, later identified as Edward Son, stepped out gripping a hatchet. Without a word, he sprinted toward the officer. Training took over. The officer drew, fired multiple rounds, and dropped the attacker to the pavement. Even wounded, Son tried to rise again. Only then did the officer realize his car was slowly rolling away. He'd left it in gear. The bizarre ambush ended with no harm to the officer or bystanders. Investigators never established a motive, suggesting pure impulse. For the department, the event became another reminder that danger can appear from nowhere, even when an officer's attention is focused on someone entirely. Crescent City, California, August 25, 2021. When deputies answered a 911 call about a disabled vehicle blocking the road, they encountered Robert Anderson walking in traffic clutching a kitchen knife. Officers persuaded him to set it down, but he refused to move away from it. Bodycam footage showed him delivering a rambling monologue about freedom, control, and the Matrix, at times addressing a woman standing nearby, his wife. The officers maintained distance, urging him repeatedly to step back. Then, after she shouted that he was going to jail, Anderson snatched the knife and lunged toward one officer. Several shots erupted from behind. He fell almost instantly, mortally wounded. The deputy he charged missed being stabbed by inches. Paramedics noted at least 7 gunshot wounds. His attack lasted less than 2 seconds, proving again how unpredictable human behavior becomes when emotion and delusion collide. Each of these encounters began with something simple, a welfare check, a traffic stop, a domestic call, yet ended in seconds of chaos. To the officers involved, none of them felt cinematic. They were terrifying bursts of noise, adrenaline, and decision-making that could never be reversed. After the shooting in Las Vegas, Officer Nelson spent months recovering from bruised ribs and trauma. His partner later admitted that the sound of the gunfire replayed in his head every night for weeks. Internal investigators cleared both men of wrongdoing. They had followed procedure to the letter. What struck the department most was how little warning they had. One moment a quiet conversation, the next a life or death struggle. The incident prompted policy changes requiring that 2 officers stand diagonally apart during all vehicle contacts, minimizing crossfire risk. Miguel Salas became a case study in how resistance born from pride can escalate into irreversible violence. In Douglas County, Deputy Brad Pro's footage circulated widely through law enforcement training sessions. Many viewers focused on the tremor in his voice as he radioed, "I'm okay." It showed a human side often lost in headlines. He later told reporters that during the confrontation, his vision narrowed, like looking through a straw. That tunnel vision is a common physiological reaction to fear, and his ability to still aim accurately was credited to constant range practice. Rivas Loss, the young man he shot, eventually confessed that he had planned to provoke a shooting to see what it felt like. He survived, but remains in prison. For the sheriff's office, it was a grim example of how unpredictably irrational motives can be. The Ohio highway stabbing attempt left a similar mark on Officer Josh Hilling. His department awarded him the Medal of Valor, but he often said he didn't feel heroic. "I did what training taught me, survive." Javier Alman, the fugitive, recovered from surgery and was extradited to Maryland, where he pled guilty to murder. During testimony, prosecutors revealed that when he charged Hilling, he had already resigned himself to death. He had told relatives he wanted to die by cop. That phrase, suicide by cop, has since appeared in numerous reports describing suspects who deliberately provoke officers into shooting. To officers, it's a nightmare scenario, being forced to take a life of someone who wanted that exactly. Back in Thornton, Officer Matthew Yao's shooting of Ethan Freeman drew public debate. Some viewers of the released bodycam footage sympathized with Ethan's visible mental breakdown, while others defended the officer's split-second choice. The investigation ruled the shooting justified, citing Freeman's aggressive advance and the object in his hand. Yao later said the hardest part was recognizing the same man he had tried to help just hours before. The department partnered with mental health specialists afterward, emphasizing early intervention for drug-induced psychosis calls, a protocol that now bears Ethan Freeman's name. In Phoenix, the incident involving Giovanna McCree raised another issue: how swiftly body language can signal intent. The officer who fired the first defensive shot later explained that he saw her thumb pressing the pistol's safety, a micro movement lasting less than half a second. Ballistic evidence confirmed she fired first. Despite surviving, McCree told investigators she never remembered pulling the trigger, claiming panic took over. Forensic psychologists cited the case to highlight how suspects in sudden arrest situations often experience fight-or-flight dissonance, acting before the brain processes consequence. That single human reflex nearly killed an officer. The Wisconsin hatchet attack left officers questioning motive more than method. Edward Sand's background showed no criminal record, no diagnosed illness, no reason. Toxicology revealed methamphetamine traces, yet his neighbors described him as quiet and polite. Detectives concluded he experienced a sudden psychotic break while driving, pulled beside the patrol car, and fixated on the officer as a threat. The patrolman later said, "He looked right through me, like he wasn't seeing a person." That phrase appears repeatedly in reports describing drug-related psychosis incidents nationwide. Robert Anderson's death in Crescent City closed a pattern. Officers recalled his last words about truth and the world being fake. His wife sobbed beside the road as paramedics worked on him. Investigators found his blood alcohol level twice the legal limit and meth in his system. The footage circulated widely, showing how quickly words turn to tragedy. "He just didn't want to go to jail," one deputy said later, and for that, he died in the street. Aftermath and reflection. Each of these stories lives on through training videos and departmental debriefings. For outsiders, they are viral clips, bursts of chaos on screens. For officers, they are reminders that every mundane call can transform in a heartbeat. They rehearse the same lessons over and over: hands visible, distance maintained, communication constant. Yet even perfect training can't neutralize human unpredictability. Law enforcement analysts reviewing these incidents noted striking similarities. Nearly every suspect displayed 3 warning stages. First, verbal resistance, refusing simple commands. Second, manipulative distraction, arguing, delaying, or turning away. And finally, sudden aggression, the reach, the rush, the weapon. For new recruits, those moments are drilled into instinct because hesitation often costs lives. Psychologists studying offender behavior see the opposite side: impulsivity, delusion, and pride. Many of these dumb criminals, as online audiences label them, weren't planning rational attacks. They were trapped in emotional storms, paranoia, intoxication, or suicidal despair that exploded in confrontation. But to the officers on scene, motive doesn't matter until the threat is neutralized. Training demands survival first, analysis later. Body cam footage from these cases became mandatory viewing across departments. In classrooms, instructors pause at key frames, the flash of a hand, the flicker of a weapon, teaching recruits to recognize danger before it unfolds. Veteran officers emphasize how quickly adrenaline distorts time. A 5-second struggle can feel like a minute, a single trigger pull like an eternity. Every report, every interview afterward carries that shared refrain: "It happened so fast." From Las Vegas to California, the thread connecting these 7 cases isn't bravery or villainy, it's decision. Each suspect made one fatal decision to challenge authority with force. Each officer made the opposite, to stay alive. The line between those choices is often no wider than a trigger finger. These incidents remind both civilians and police that compliance isn't submission, it's preservation. The officers in these stories didn't wake intending to fire their weapons. The criminals didn't wake intending to die. But when defiance turns into aggression, outcomes narrow to a single inevitable point. For every Miguel Salas, Dion Moss, Javier Alman, Ethan Freeman, Giovanna McCree, Edward San, and Robert Anderson, there are thousands of routine stops that end safely because someone chose to listen instead of fight. When dumb criminals try to attack cops, the ending never changes. Training beats impulse, reason beats rage, and the ones who survive are those who stop before the line is crossed.